Good afternoon, another DHgate review, and this is another knife review. I picked this up off DHgate's sample affiliate program where they have limited number of items, a lot of stuff for women of course, but for men I think it's, there's a lot of stuff on there that I just wouldn't waste my time reviewing. But I do like to collect knives as well. If you guys haven't watched my other content, although there's not many knife reviews or cologne or watch reviews, but it's something I do like to collect. I always have a pocket knife on me, extremely usable, you know what I mean? I'm not going to go into those EDC videos. I find them super annoying. Guys, my EDC is a handgun, a pocket knife, and my car keys and my wallet, right? So some guys are like, I have this, I have that, I have an axe, I have a knife. It's like, dude, are you going to the grocery store or are you going camping for 3 weeks? But hey, to each their own. But I just do want to share this knife. This is kind of a what we'll call, I guess, kind of like, I don't know, like a homage to another style of knife out there. Usually you'll find a lot of stuff on DHgate that is kind of like homages to other brands. I'm not really too familiar with every knife out there, but it is, kind of a strange looking design, right? And I chose this because it was one of the few that's available. And if you haven't checked out my other review I did on some of these automatic knives, again, check with your state and local laws. This one here, awesome. I mean, really great quality, nice blade on it. Check out my review I did on that. So I kind of figured this would be along the same lines of quality, but this is another DHgate product that I really don't recommend. It's a very strange design, and I think it's just really, it feels really cheap. And for the price of this, it's $43. Again, I know some of these DHgate sellers aren't going to be too happy about me reviewing in these light, but I got to be honest with you. Has a 3.8-inch blade. Again, sort of like some sort of metal construction. I think it's like an aluminum handle. You have a belt clip on it. I think it's kind of one of the ugliest knives that I've ever seen, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm pretty laid back. When you feel it, it's jingly. And so when I first got this, I was like, what is this thing? And so how it works is you squeeze the two buttons on top, and it basically springs the handle apart. And then you're supposed to, you can see, it flops around. And you're supposed to kind of flip it out at the same time, which, it's hard to kind of get it to lock. It might take a little bit of practice, but I don't know. I just think it feels really cheap, and I think this is a really poor design. I guess they're trying to, I don't know, I can appreciate a company kind of thinking outside the box, and it does work. Like, it is a one-hand opening knife, and I think that, I guess if you were doing something like, if you're, let's say you're cleaning gutters or you're doing something on a ladder and you only have one hand, I guess this is kind of handy to be able to flip the knife open like that. So I can see kind of the use of that. I'll probably use it, kind of like a garden knife, kind of keep it in the garage. But I think for $43, it's rather cheap. And it just feels rather cheap. The handle, it makes noise. And again, that kind of like we're not going to compare it to like fit and finishing of watches where guys, talk about different luxury brands. The company designed it to be like this because the handle has to separate. So my point is, just because it is sort of, loose and jingly and kind of flops around, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with this particular one or this design. It's just, the handle has to spread apart in order for you can kind of see when I press that, it opens up, and you just kind of have to get used to kind of flipping it open. It's interesting, and definitely interesting for a one-hand knife. Again, I think this is something I'll definitely keep like in my toolbox or tool bag, because it is kind of handy to have a knife that you can flip open and close with one hand. But I just think, this to me, for what you're getting, it really feels like more of like a $15 to $19 knife, $20 knife. I think there's just too many other options out there in knives. Again, just going back to the one that I got the other day, this one-hand push-button deployant knife feels great, but you can't close it. So that's kind of the downside. You can't close it with one hand. You have to use two hands. And so you might have to put that on your leg, kind of put it on your arm, be careful. So I can see kind of the advantage of something like this, where it's not really meant for speed. It's meant for you to, basically pop that knife out. And you can see it's not the easiest thing to get out, because it doesn't, when you push these two buttons on here, it doesn't always spring the handles apart like evenly. So you almost have to like kind of jiggle it. And you can see I'm having a hard time even getting this open again. You know, am I doing it the right way there? Oh, doing it backwards. That's probably why. So you kind of spread that open and it'll flop out. So I do think that's kind of handy, being able to close it with one hand as opposed to a more of like an out the front knife. But I think this is going to be good for somebody who, you know, if you do live in a state where out the front knives are illegal. And what I mean by out the front knives, I mean something like this, where it's, review on this is coming as well, where the knife shoots from the front with a spring. You just basically press the button and it extends and retracts. So these are really handy, but again, depending on the state you live, this might be a good option if you need a one-hand opening knife. This is definitely going to be something that you can use. And I'll find use for it. You know, there's plenty of times where I'm on a ladder and I need to open something or pack a zip ties, and it's kind of a pain in order to use both hands. So this is pretty handy, but I think there's other options out there, and I just think, again, for $40, that's a little expensive. So sometimes, though, when it comes to, you know, the old saying, you get what you pay for, you know, when it comes to, and I hate to always make these comparisons with watches, but there is an element of truth to that with watches as well, but not the extreme. Like when you look at a $10,000 watch as opposed to like even a $100 watch, the differences are there really need to be seen under macro lens, and you might see some attention to detail under the bracelet, you know, under the clasp, maybe, right? But you know, when you look at a really expensive knife at maybe $600 compared to something like this, I think the differences are going to be more noticeable. But and with something like this, like I've had out the front knives before. I had one that failed. I took it apart. I still have to fix it. But I do find it really handy, and I hope that this thing lasts longer than the other one does. I probably got a good year out of the other one. But, you know, I do like this design better. I do think, and I'll review this too, but I do think this design kind of is a little bit strange, but it's a karambit, I think it's called, but we'll come back to that. But anyway, just want to share with you guys, and let me know if you have any questions. As always, link is in the description, and you guys have a fantastic day, and take care.